Right. When we last left our band of intrepid adventurers, they were on the cusp of the choosing, the moment of the Festival of Heroes where it is revealed what parties will be delving into Undermountain to defend the city from its deadly denizens. As they waited for that fated day, though, Angela had been called to visit Terrell the blacksmith, an old friend of her father's who used to fix up the Civilar's armor when he served. After discovering that she was intent on joining the festival, the man had used his skills to bring Angela's childhood drawing of her ideal armor to life, and gifted the young warrior her first set of plate mail armor, her father's very own modified full plate. After a bit of a shocking moment where Zacharias had accidentally teleported the blacksmith with the party to his residence, the man had given the group information on how to use the gateway that he had set up to transport them to the Feywild, so that they could go to the aid of Tobias's family. After using the strange apparatus to transport themselves, the party disappeared from the prime material plane, so let us join them as they arrive in the Feywild and attempt to navigate this strange realm.
Stepping through the cubic gate, there is a flash of energy before each of you that consumes you entirely. A cascade of radiant, multicolored light flashes between bright shades of red and purple and blue before eventually, after you're not exactly sure how long, you appear in a forest. Well, in a clearing inside of a forest. The grass here is odd in that it is sheafs of wheat, but the sheafs are pink in color rather than the standard yellow straw. The trees, likewise, have deep blue-green leaves, and the bark is a pale white, almost skin tone of some bookmaker who doesn't leave his home too often. Nearby, you hear the flitting of birds, but the flitting does not belong to birds. In fact, it belongs to bird-shaped creatures that have overly curved wings, who undulate through the air more than flap. And the buzz and gentle lights of pixies come with soft choruses of laughter and giggling from the woods around you. You are most certainly not on the prime material plane any longer. Tobias, you recognize the clearing that you've landed in. It is one of the many stone circles that dot the countryside around your hometown. You are only a small distance. You could be there in probably less than an hour, so long as the eddies are not traveling against you. And looking up into the cotton candy clouds that roll across the light gold sky, you can see that the weather is with you. And with no storms on the horizon, you could be home very shortly.
Tobias will kind of stand up on his toes and peer around the clearing, and squinting as he takes it all in. And then he will slowly lift one of his little fingers into the air and suddenly point to the east. There, that's the way. And he's just going to start hopping off in that direction.
All right, well, we just follow along, I guess.
I'm gonna be looking around us as we go follow Tobias.
Taking it all in. The weirdness of this place.
First time here.
Well, Alta would also follow along at a kind of a slower pace, but not because she was wary, but because she was amazed at what she was seeing all around her.
There is no small amount of things to be amazed in, as everything seems to have a relatively normal pace to it. There's nothing maddening about the world around you, and yet every aspect of it seems insane. From the odd colors of the objects around you that seem to relate to something you're used to, but just aren't quite there, to the sounds of creatures that are just on the edge of recognizable, but just enough to where they fall into a strange kind of uncanny valley. As you bound, or walk, across the expanse, the tree line eventually gives way to a long set of rolling hills. And almost anyone could recognize a place like this. This is the place that farmers dream of finding. This is the place that many adventurers dream of settling. Soldiers talk about mustering out of the military, to settle down with a small family and live a peaceful life. But the literal blue of the bluegrass, which looks more like aquamarine and seems to tinkle slightly as the tips of it rub together, makes it just odd enough that you're not sure if even they would choose to settle here. Up ahead, you see a mark of civilization, a field carved out of the small set of foothills, and a small cottage. Tobias, the last time you were here, you did not see this place. No one lived over here on the edge of the Alpine Barrows, but it looks like someone has settled here now, and you'll likely have to cross their land to get into town. Of course, undeterred, you soldier on, until you hear a howling cry come from the side of the shed, and a half of a dog runs on two legs, the back half, and rushes off into the underbrush. It didn't seem to leave a trail of blood or anything so grisly as that, but that was most definitely the ass end of a canine that toddled off into the undergrowth. And from around the corner, a large shadow flows out. And you hear a deep, growling, guttural voice. Stupid dog! A enormous figure hoists a large curved blade and begins to stalk towards the undergrowth. When it comes out from behind the shed, you realize it's about 3.5 feet tall. It looks like a gnome. A big, bristly, white mustache, little stubbly of a beard. Usually they grow it longer. It has a green leather jerkin, large shoes that curl up in a ancient elven fashion. They have a pair of tiny bells at the end that ring as he takes each step. But the most important thing, especially to Tobias's eyes, is the enormous hat he is wearing. Nearly the height of the man's torso, this conical structure rises up and flops over on its side, making him look like some kind of wizened sage. But it is dyed a deep crimson red.
This is weird. Everything about this is weird.
Has Tobias seen redcaps? Do they live in his neck of the
Tobias
Feywild?
They don't live on farms. They are monstrous marauders that, slaughter farmers and dye their hats in their blood in order to continue living. That is when they're not trying to find a way to prey on some poor mortal who's stumbled in.
What is that?
Tobias is gonna offhandedly kind of flap his hand at Angie. You really don't. They're not very likable. Excuse me, sir. He's going to shout at the redcap.
He stops as you start yelling at him and lowers the scythe and then slowly turns to look at the group. Oh, my shoes! And he turns and dashes back behind the shed.
Okay. Angie, seeing the big scythe he was carrying and what apparently happened to the dog, well, she doesn't quite reach for her sword, but she just, with her left hand, she just tilts it forward a little bit in the sheath.
Tobias will say to the party, that one is definitely up to no good. We should definitely investigate, and quickly.
Well, this is your old home.
Have you never seen a redcap?
I've lived in Waterdeep pretty much all my whole life, and that's been quite a while.
Well, they don't have them there. Oh, what a luxury that must be.
I have no idea what that thing is, but I'll trust your judgment on it.
Well, they're actually quite terrible. You see, they don't live in civilization. Rather they slaughter those who farm. And well, that hat probably wasn't dyed with dye. You see, they very much like to use blood for that kind of thing. We should probably go investigate.
So you're going to hastily head up to where he disappeared?
Damn, I didn't know Day with the Gnome was so freaking metal.
When you come around the corner, you can see the inside of the woodshed. There is definitely a dead dog laying there. As I said before, there is strangely no gore or blood, but the dog has been cut in half in the middle, and its forelegs and head remain, and its tongue is lolled out of the side of it. The Redcap is there, and he is currently trying to fit one large iron boot on one of his feet, and his large shoes have been discarded, just tossed aside onto a woodpile. A small pair of pixies are currently fighting over one of the bells, attempting to untie its thatching and pull it off. And he flicks his eyes over at the group and says, "Oh, give me just a second to get my shoes on. I don't know which one of you wants to be first, but we have to do these things in order." He shoves one of his feet into the boot with a resounding thump, like a copper pipe going into a slightly smaller copper pipe.
Velatho would just kind of lean forward towards Tobias and be like, "Is he some kind of butcher or something?"
No. This is just typical Redcap behavior.
Okay. All right. He takes a couple of steps like he's stretching out his legs and does a couple of quick squats and kind of limbers up his shoulders a little bit and goes, "All right. Okay. What are you doing?" And he's staring at the front half of the dead dog. "Don't be such a drama queen." And the dog's eyes roll back forward and it hoists itself up on its forelegs and walks around him in a circle, like it has invisible back legs.
Let's see.
Okay.
We're in the Fae. Things are not the same as back on the Prime.
You see Tobias's eyebrow twitch a little bit, and he kind of stammers, "Excuse me, Mr. or Mrs. Canine, but I believe you're looking for your, well, you see, we saw your bottom is that way," and he just points towards the underbrush where he saw the dog's ass take off.
Oh no, her behind will come back after a couple of hours. She does this every time I try and clip those little talons. Dogs. Don't even know how they survive here. But cute nonetheless. He reaches down and ruffles the dog's head kind of backwards with his hand on its muzzle, wiggling its ears. Like he doesn't know how to pet a dog, but whatever. So, what color dye are you looking for?
Die?
You first. Sorry, it's a Redcap joke. Yes, well, I mean, you're not here to buy dye, are you?
No, we're not. We're passing by.
I even put my good shoes on.
They're nice shoes.
They are. Clanks the heavy iron boots against each other. Well, I guess I'll have to kill you then.
Well, hold on a second. Why the hostility?
Another Redcap joke. I got you. Look at the human.
I want to insight how much he's actually joking.
Go ahead.
You should have a sign that says "Welcome to Die."
You're relatively sure he's joking? Question mark?
Well, he was asking us to be patient with him, so he can be patient with us. Tobias, you got any questions?
I have a sign, but it doesn't say "Welcome to Die." It says "Died in the Wool," but it's D-I, and it's obviously business is slow. So if you're not here for dyes, then why are you on my land?
Passing through, simply.
I should ask you why you're on this land at all. This is an awfully civil life for a Redcap to be living.
Well, that's awfully judgmental. And I could accept that from the human or the elf. Well, considering the fact that you're a rabbit, I wouldn't think you'd have enough brains up there to be mental, much less judgmental.
I am not a rabbit, Redcap. I am a rabbit folk, you see.
Well, I'm a Redcap folk, and I have land. And he sticks his tongue out at you through his bristly beard.
Like it had to come through the beard to be visible.
Yes.
He probably has so much beard we can't even see his lips.
Angie's just looking back and forth between the Redcap and Tobias with her eye twitching.
Yes, well, if you have this land, then I'm sure you only slaughtered about, possibly an entire family to get it, yes?
Oh yeah, I've got him in the basement. Here, let me go ahead and truss you up, and I'll take you down there to meet him. Fah!
At this, Falata would chuckle a little bit louder.
See, she gets it. She knows I don't even have a basement. Ah!
I see.
Something nudges against Tobias's leg, and the hindquarters of the dog walks tail first toward the other side of the dog.
Tobias just kind of freezes and then slowly faces forward again and says to nobody, I hope never to experience that again.
After bumping against each other in the wrong order for a few moments, the dog eventually faces the correct direction, and there is a light popping sound as it comes together, at which point it begins bounding around and barking like a normal dog, and then runs up to Angie to start licking her armored leg plates.
Aww. And she can't help but to pet the dog.
The dog seems exceedingly happy.
She's still baffled.
Well, if you want me to help, then I suppose I can at least be neighborly.
If you don't mind my asking, have you noticed an influx of crimes recently? More specifically, ones that seem to favor the color black?
I've been avoiding town for a little while, but they might be in town?
No, you see, I'm asking if you've seen them here, near your land.
Oh, just the one? And he gives a relatively thin smile.
1 plus how many?
1 minus 1, I think is how the thing would go.
So where is it? Where'd you put it?
In the dye field.
Was he threatening you?
He was trying to steal from me. He stole a barrel of my ale, and instead of just letting it poison him so that he would die a horrible, agonizing death, I killed him for stealing from me.
Right.
I have his things if you like them. Primes like swords, right?
Well, we could at least have a look.
He walks around his woodshed and over to the side of his house, and brings over a small cask, pops the top off of it, and dumps tattered, bloody black leather rags all over the ground. That looks like it was once armor of some kind, but definitely did not save the wearer from a horrendously grisly death.
Do I recognize the armor?
Well, you'll have to handle it, but you can definitely make a intelligence check. You definitely recognize this. This is pretty run-of-the-mill for a sword guard. Effectively like a guardsman would be for a town. That's the kind of duties that this person would have done.
And it's just black. It's all black though.
It was most definitely black-dyed leather. One thing that you are able to find is a quarter of what seems to be a artist's rendition. It contains a large bunny ear and the upper right-hand corner of a rabbit folk's head. So they drew the ear wrong, but they tried.
Do I see myself in this partial likeness?
Only if it was drawn by someone who had heard about you being described by a blind person.
Nice. Tobias is going to look over to Mr. Redcap. Excuse me, Mr. And he kind of gestures his hand out, indicating that he doesn't know what to call the man.
People around here just call me Capper.
Capper, yes. Have you heard or met your neighbors to the east?
Yes. He blushes slightly.
They're my family, you know. That's who we're on our way to see. We're terribly sorry to have trespassed upon your land, but It belonged to no one when last I lived here.
Oh yeah, there was when I first came here, there was no farm or anything. I built most of this myself. Probably explains why it looks like it's about to fall over. But it's honest living, and it keeps me in the dye business with less other people dying for functional dying. Bugs, you see. Bugs and plants. If you mix a particular kind of cricket with red wheat sheaves, you can create something that will keep your hat red. And it addles the mind a little bit when you dye it, but it doesn't let it dry.
Have you been coping all right with dyeing your own hat this way?
Yes. It's less bloody work. Relaxing. Still occasionally get the desire to cut something in half. But I have happy for that. And he pats the dog.
Oh, jeez.
Well, very sorry to have troubled you so much, Mr. Capper. I think I should continue on to make sure my family is safe now.
Well, if you are heading over to your family's home, then perhaps you could put in a good word?
Did you do something to give them a bad word of yourself?
It's an odd situation. Well, you see, I have kind of been banned from town. Not for anything that I did. Rather, it's a misunderstanding.
Just because you're a redcap, huh?
Well, that might be part of it, but that part is forgivable. People expect the worst. You know, people expect me to be violent and murderous, and they expect rabbit folk to be stupid and scared of everything, and they expect pixies to be mischievous and to turn people into trees. And only sometimes are all of those things true. Usually with the pixies, but I didn't do anything to really worry the townsfolk. I was beneath the tree, just enjoying the laughter of all the children as they were flying around on their swings, and they started laughing, and I started laughing, and when I get into laughing, I might sound a bit scary. And so I'm not allowed to go into town anymore because they're terrified that I'll slaughter their children and use their blood to dye my hat.
Well, when we head to town, I'll be sure to pass that along.
Or rather, it was the matron of the Rabbit Folk farmstead that had me banned in the first place.
My mother banned you from town?
Her word kind of goes sometimes, most of the time, all of the time. The Rabbit Folk farmstead now covers the entirety of the northern and eastern side of town. And she runs all of it.
Well, she always has been a force of nature.
Can say that again.
I'll do my best, but I make no promises. I'm not even the favorite child.
Well, there's lots to choose from. But if it helps, you're my favorite of the family. He tries his best to give a charming grin, but it looks really, really awkward and creepy.
Well, I won't get it done if I don't actually get there, so we should be on our way.
Yes. Good luck to you.
Thank you for watching, and thanks to our wonderful supporters that make up our little community, watching us stream the best available and everything else you see on this channel live to our supporter-only Discord. It's quite active in there, with many playing in these games or others, and even running their own. This channel wouldn't exist without each and every one of you, which is why I read each and every name against my crying editor's wishes, starting with those in the power tier. David, Doodle Poodle, Jay Jones, John the Wicked, Sneaky GI, and William Smith. In the planar tier, Darth Cavalier, Gordy Danke, Ice Dragon, Jesse Labrie, Joshua Williams, and Sparkle Lord the Fabulous. In the adventurer tier, All Is Fiction, Bastion Falconwrath, Dragon Tempest, Jeremy B., John R300, Justin, Katie, Mystics, Ty Korjak, and V. In the quest giver tier, Bird or the Cage, Breezebender, Emanon, Kyla, Night Archer, ODST Hero, PPNTT 807, Robert Mischief, Rio 1990, Samantha, Sephiroth Kurosame, and Slathar Silcom. And in the townsfolk tier, Adrian, Blizzard Hawk, Bennett Snyder, Biz Adrian, Dylan Taylor, Doodle Poodle, Ice Commander, Enrique, Matus, Mordant Dragon, Okada, Scott Stedman, Sergeant Humpty, Shugenja, Tom Brazeau, and Wicked Ways. A special thank you to our first ever supporter and longest standing supporter, Scion of Magnus, and Sammy Wolf, and as always, I can't forget to mention our creative team, Doodle Poodle, Nala Fontaine, Shadow Wolf, Scorpius187, MC_Cheshire, Thriving Inferno, and the Forever DM, me. Thank you all for watching to the end, and as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next one. Good night, all.